Hello, and welcome to the Devils in God's Country. There's Sean. Hey, buddy.
Hey, no, I'm sorry, I forgot to hit the join button. My bad.
Oh, it's okay. It's okay. Welcome everyone to the Devils in God's Country, episode 7. This will be the 7th one of these we've done. It's kind of weird. So basically, for those who haven't watched the show before, the basic premise is we get a little drunk, a little wasted, do whatever we do, and we just kind of hash it out, man. And we talk about shit that's pissing us off in the religious world, and as atheists, and the shit that we have to deal with, and just kind of, it's a chance for us to vent a little bit, but it's also a chance for us to expose people to just your average everyday atheist that most people don't. You know, a lot of people when they think about atheists, they think about Dawkins and Harris and Hitchens and all that. And you know, honestly, the majority of atheists are not those guys. They're us. You know, it's these guys right here. That's just your common everyday dude. You know, we have normal jobs, we live normal lives, we have families and all that good shit. And you know, so we want to introduce y'all to that side of atheism in a non-formal way. You know, we're not going to try to offer some huge long dissertation about anything here, really. We just want you to experience the common atheist. So tonight's discussion will be about what atheism is not. So you know, we hear a lot of shit about what atheism is. Both from atheists and from theists. You know, everybody has their opinions about what atheism is. Tonight, I want to talk to you about what atheism is. And the reason I want to talk to you about that, because there's some misconceptions that a lot of people have based on what they think atheism is, or what atheists are, who we are. And they come from both sides. So I want to start out by addressing one of the common myths about atheists that tends to come from the atheist side more than the theist side, which is atheists are more intelligent, fair, and rational people. This is bullshit.
Yeah.
This is absolute bullshit. Atheists are people, okay? And we could be as irrational, as assholish, and as idiotic as any other human being on this planet. There's nothing that says just because I wear the label of atheist that I'm a fucking crazy genius that's always fucking rational and totally a good person all the time. That's just not how this works. I will say that, you know, we tend to have a little more amongst our ranks that do fall into that category than I see from theists at times. But, you know, I see plenty of very intelligent theists. I see plenty of good, nice theists, you know, and whatnot. So it's never like, you know, being a theist makes you an idiot, or being an atheist makes you intelligent. That doesn't work that way. What do you think, Sean? Do you have you experienced that as well? I think you've had some experience in that arena.
Well, yeah, I think, you know, people are people. I think, you know, no matter what you believe, it doesn't define your intelligent level. Yes, you know, we can all question why one believes what the other believes. Some people are just so, you know, ingrained culturally and in their minds, you know, in personal experiences and certain faiths, that you can't change their mind, but it doesn't make them not intelligent or not smart people. And I think, too, you know, another thing that kind of gets brought up all the time, just to kind of add on to this conversation, is sexism, things of that nature. You know, we'll hear all the time, you know, the word sexism and things like that, and you know, atheists and people, the common, I guess it depends on who you listen to, obviously, but typically free thought groups are more progressive. At least that's what the common stance is. Now, again, I don't agree with that. You know, people are people. But for whatever reason, like sexism and things like that always get brought up in the atheist community. And I think, you know, unfortunately, sexism happens regardless of what organization you're in. It's just a matter of how the organization handles that, you know, and doesn't tolerate that. So you know, creating dividing lines within the atheism or theism, whatever you want to call it, you know, whichever side of the fence you're on, doesn't really help, in my opinion. You know.
Yeah, Yeah, and honestly, and just to touch on that a bit, we do have a problem with sexism within the atheist community. We definitely do, and I think one of the strong suits for us is we are trying to address it. We're
Right.
doing we're making strides towards addressing that and say, look, you let go of the God bullshit and the religion bullshit. Now, let's move on to this other thing that you seem to be holding on to that you don't want to let go. This sort of misogyny and sexism. What do you
Right.
think, Joey? You run into that a lot too?
Yeah, absolutely. I've been on several threads on Facebook and Twitter and things like that, and and I've run into guys that that even though they may be atheists, they're still hanging on to this whole thing, this patriarchy, that men know better, and then
Right.
I have a tendency to shut them down pretty quick there on my page, but
Yeah, I
this.
just yeah, I think it's people are people, like just some people, whether or not whether or not they're an atheist, a Buddhist, a Catholic, whatever the case is, they could be very accepting and they can be very prejudiced and sexist and
Yeah,
things like that. I mean, it's hard to say one side is better than the other in any circumstance.
Hmm. So, why do you guys think that sexism is one of those issues that's still pretty prevalent in our community, even though there's all these other issues that not? We see a lot more acceptance towards the LGBT community and
Oh yeah.
things of that nature, and less racism and stuff. But sexism is definitely a big issue still for us. So, why do you think it is? Why do you think that seems to be one of those things people have such trouble letting go of, and especially in an organization or in a community like the atheist community where it does seem to be very male dominated. Do you think maybe that's part of the influence that there's just so many I mean, we've got three guys on here today, and normally I got my co-host Allie Jackson on here, and she's a wonderful, articulate, beautiful woman, CEO of the Atheist Republic organization, just
yeah.
top level, top tier woman. But it's funny because she doesn't get as much attention and play as I do, and yet she's the one behind the scenes taking care of everything. So it's weird. So why do you think that's such an issue for us?
Well, I think first of all, I want to clarify so we don't get a bunch of people typing in saying that I'm a fundamentalist lover or anything like that. Obviously, when we're talking about comparisons, I'm not utilizing the extremist fundamentalist religions or extremist period, like ISIS and things of that nature, Orthodox, anything Orthodox. But when you talk about just a progressive um, organization or community, it's really, and this goes to all of religion. It's influenced by. Are you getting an echo, Casper?
A little bit. Let me mute Brent while you speak, and because he's not on a headset, so.
Oh, gotcha.
Okay.
But I think yeah, I was saying like when you're talking about anything fundamentalist or society as a whole is what influences all of this. And unfortunately, society has its own issues. Even the most progressive societies, women are still getting underpaid, getting paid less than men. In a lot of cases, there's opportunity for men, not women. And I think that's changing, especially in the Western societies. It's definitely improving, but it's nothing to do with atheism, in my opinion. I think it's just the culture and society as a whole needs to keep improving, keep making steps, keep moving forward, and doing those types of things.
Uh, all right, Brent. What do you? What's your feedback on this? Do you think it's? I can't unmute you. Can you go ahead and mute yourself? Oh, damn it. Oh, we lost Brent. He'll have to come back in. Sorry.
Okay.
Sorry, Joey. My bad, brother. Come on back in as soon as you can get back up, man. While he's out though, I just I attended your last conference there from Mythicist Milwaukee, and I wanted to commend you guys on having Mendisa Thomas there to speak. That's one of those where you knocked it out of the park. You've got a strong female presence there to speak, and then also a presence from the Black community there, which is so underappreciated and so overwhelming within the atheist community. Hey, there's Joey. Joey's back. All right, buddy.
Yeah, no, we were really excited to have her. I mean, that was really cool that Mandisa came out. Another thing is, and we loved having her, but, she made a very clear point at the conference, and she even did it, and I think it was like in the Q&A session, when she said, I should not be the only Black woman at this conference with over 100 attendees, So, I mean, that's, definitely it's a brilliant point that she makes, and it's something that, we just, as organizers, as anybody that's putting events together, you just got to be cognizant of that. Like you said, Casper, we have 3 guys on the podcast right now. Obviously, all of us, if we had anyone that wasn't a guy that was interested, definitely come on. But, sometimes you have to cater things to get other people interested, not just women, children, to anything that, to kind of keep it all inclusive, the events and things like that.
Yes, definitely. So Joey, what do you think maybe we could do to sort of bridge that gap, sort of bridge that divide, and to make us seem a little more, a little less exclusive, a little less of a boys' club, if you will.
Well, I mean, I think the problem is that the majority of the people you run across online are guys. They're the ones that are out there commenting on everything. I really don't know what the answer is.
So I think maybe one of the ways I think that we can sort of bridge that divide and bridge that gap is just to reach out to women, to female atheists, and say, please, we want to hear your voice. Let's put you on a platform. Let's put you up here behind the podium, and let's hear what you have to say. And I wouldn't even be opposed to seeing an atheist women's conference that is, that features women specifically in the atheist community. I think that'd be a wonderful thing to see, just to make sure that they get the spotlight. That they aren't overwhelmed by this big male presence in our community. And not to blame anyone either. I don't think that anyone really sets out to do this or for
Right.
things to be this way. It's just
Right.
kind of how stuff works. I mean, we just tend to be a little more vocal, and that's sort of the upsetting thing. So maybe just encourage it. Look, if you feel compelled to speak, please, let's hear your voice. We want to hear your voice. No,
Right.
we don't want to shut you down.
And I think it is changing. I think you are seeing like more female strong leaders like Ayarn Hirsi Ali, obviously Allie Jackson, taking over Atheist Republic. I mean, you're seeing it left and you're seeing it all over the place. Those are just 2 small examples, but so you're seeing it's happening, and hopefully that will start garnering the interest from a more diverse audience, because as being an organizer myself, it's hard to just get people in the community interested in it all, not let alone trying to dive down and figure out getting certain types of people interested. Really you're just trying to get people to these events, period, in a lot of cases.
Everybody.
So yeah, I mean, that's the challenge is that it's let's make them interesting for everyone, and hopefully more people show up. And unfortunately, we do run the meetup too, and 70% of the people that show up are normally males for whatever reason. We've changed our marketing strategy, we've changed a lot of different things that we're doing, and unfortunately, in our community, there's not a lot of people interested in the community to begin with, and B, it's hard to to determine why certain groups are interested or aren't interested.
Well, you know, that was one of the things that really just stood out to me when I came up there for the conference was that you did not have a bigger presence there, because my initial reaction was, okay, well, we're heading up north, you know, and we're heading up here to what should be, or what is considered most times, the more rational and liberal areas. You know, I figured there would be more people, and the presence was not exactly what I expected. Not to say it wasn't great; it was a wonderful turnout, especially for the event, and the size event that it was. But at the same time, I'm thinking, you know, why aren't there more atheists? And then when I got to talking to you guys and how small a community there actually is there, it's like, wow, this is like Bible Belt town, you
Yeah,
know. And
it is.
how does that happen?
Well,
You know, how does that happen in the north?
well, that's why I hate those dividing lines between the groups. You know, the all male group, the all female group, the whatever the different atheists. You know, the atheist plus. Like, I mean, it's already like so uninteresting for a lot of people, and then people that are atheists in a lot of cases they just don't care at all. So like they're just so apathetic just to try to get them out in the first place. So like creating those dividing lines, all male group, all female group, whatever. I personally have an issue with those just because I've witnessed and I've experienced just like how hard it is to get people interested at all, and then you want to like divide that audience even more. It definitely doesn't do you any justice.
We're a small enough group as it is.
Right.
Well, okay, let's move on just a little bit. I want to actually touch on one of the other things I mentioned, which is that atheists are not by proxy rational and fair people. And to really emphasize this, I want to point out why Miss Allie is not here with us tonight. Allie is not here with us tonight because Allie is in the hospital, suffering from stress-induced ulcers, and is very, very ill right now. And what's brought this on is actually stress within our own organization, with a group of individuals within our Facebook group that decided that was their personal playground to do with as they please. And Allie, being CEO, and those of us in the leadership team decided that wasn't healthy for our organization. So we came in and we wanted to instill some leadership and to just to stop some of the infighting that was going on there. There was a lot of bullying going on, bully tactics by some of the members there towards other admins of the group. And it was becoming a very divisive situation for everybody there on the group. And it put Allie in so much stress and put her into so much shit that she's now actually ill from just having to deal with the stress of all this crap. And of course, when this came in and we said, hey, we just want to create some structure and lay some ground rules and make sure there's things that everybody knows, that there are standards that we want to hold everyone to, these individuals blew up and they lost their minds because apparently we were questioning their authority and questioning their power that they supposedly had. And now those members are no longer members of the Atheist Republic. And that's unfortunate. That's not the route that anyone wanted to go with that, but that's what we had to do for our organization. And it's a stark reminder that just because you're dealing with atheists does not mean you're dealing with rational, well thought out individuals that are always going to be, working towards a common goal. It just doesn't work that way. Like Sean pointed out, we're all people. And people can get fucking weird sometimes, man. Especially when you feel like you're in a place of power and authority, and somebody comes in and says, "Well, no, this is about everyone. This is bigger than you, and you don't just get to piss in the playground like it's yours. Like that just doesn't get to happen." So You know, just to make that point, and I'm sure every one of us here, I'm sure Sean and Joey both have experienced this of, you know, you're dealing with atheists and you think that you should be able to deal with rational thinking individuals, and it turns out no, you're just dealing with a person, and this person may have some pretty fucked up issues with themselves that don't allow for rational thought outside of the general I don't believe in God or religion thing. So it's a very unique situation for us because we expect rationality from our community. You know, we come into it expecting that, and it's not always there. Have you guys experienced that as well? I know Sean, I know you have, and you can't really talk about it much, but I know you've experienced that in some very unfortunate ways that have just been detrimental to your organization as well.
I ran into an
go ahead.
atheist Trump supporter the other day. You know, how someone could be an atheist and support Trump, that blew my mind.
Well, you know, and I've obviously, you know, we're talking about organizing. So in my professional career, I'm a corporate manager. I've been doing that for 14 years. And then with this, with Mythicist Milwaukee, we've been doing this a little over 3 years. So it's really kind of weird. I have this dichotomy where I'm running one group where I pay my employees, and then the other group are all atheists, and I don't pay them. So the group I manage at work, obviously, we run into issues like that all the time. But a lot of times when it comes down to people's salaries, you know, like being in a management position where if my authority is being challenged, or whatever you want to call it, I will, you know, obviously we have to grin and bear it a lot of times, you know, because that's our salary. You know, we got to make sure we keep that going. But on the atheist side, in Mythicist Milwaukee, it's interesting because I'm dealing with volunteers that we're not paying at this point. And, you know, we've had situations like what you explained happen where you have like one or a couple members go rogue, and all of a sudden things aren't going their way, and then they decide they want to, you know, like start some crazy like infighting war. And, you know, the thing I always try to remind the team is, you know, we're coming together, we're working really hard on this every week. We're literally talking to the team like we're talking amongst each other every single day. You know, at the end of the day, it's more important to work together and get stuff done and show results than worry about whose ego is bigger. So one of the things we do is we tell everyone, you check your ego at the door. You know, I don't go around saying I'm the president and co-founder, and, you know, Antonio doesn't go around saying he's the co-founder. You know, nobody throws those titles around. It's all about whose project is whose, where are we at with it, you know, what's the timeline, is it done, it's done, great, let's move on. You know, everyone's kind of treated as an equal. And I'm not saying that at this point, you know, in the future we won't have another member that kind of acts in those ways, but again, dude, it's just like people are people, you know, when it boils down to it. Some people just, they love the drama. They love that stuff. They love getting into those situations. And unfortunately, like I said, we're not employing them. We're not paying them, so they're not reliant on the income to kind of fall in line sometimes, you know.
Yeah, we got a couple of comments from those of those in that little group that we had to deal with about, you know, where's my paycheck if I'm going to have a boss? And it's like, look, man, nobody's trying to be your boss. We're just saying that these are the standards, and we want everybody to abide by them. Right. You know, this is for everybody. It applies to me, even in the position that I'm in. As an officer in this organization, it applies to me the same as it does to everyone else. You know, this is for everyone, for the betterment of everyone in this organization. Everyone's held accountable. It's not just about you, and they just couldn't get over that. I know, Joey, you've started a page there on Facebook, offending everyone. You guys, you post some pretty provocative material at times, and some stuff that really, I mean, it's really about offending everyone. If you can crawl under their skin, you kind of want to do that a little bit. I think that's a unique perspective. That's something I tend to do myself. So let's talk about your page a little bit. You know, what are y'all doing over there?
Well, you know, with offending everyone, the whole idea behind it is that if you can break down you know, when people are offended, it has a tendency to break things down and make them think about why they feel the way they do about certain things. You know, you kind of. My opinion is that there should be no sacred cows. There should be nothing that can't be questioned. So I question everything, and I don't think anything's out of bounds. I mean, I don't deliberately try and go out and say something that's racist or sexist or, you know, but as far as, you know, I want to question people to question their ideas. Why do you believe the way you do? You know, I don't want people to just get set in this little rut, and you know, when you get in a rut, you don't question your ideas. You're not going to learn anything if you're stuck in one certain set of beliefs. And it goes for whether it's religion or politics or even you know atheism. But,
Yeah, definitely.
Everything's sacred, so everything's fair game.
Yeah, I'm definitely a supporter of that idea. I encourage everyone who reads my books or who listens to this series or our podcast that I'm very involved in, reads my blogs. Please offer your criticism. Please let me know exactly how you feel. That's how we open dialogue. You know, that's how communication starts. So if you've got a criticism and you want to put it out there in a nice manner, and you're not trying to just attack the shit out of me, yeah, let's have that discussion, man. You know, if you disagree with me, let's have that discussion. You know, you may end up changing my mind. I'm open for my mind to be changed. If you can present the evidence to show me I'm wrong, that's how I got to be an atheist. I didn't just choose one day, oh, you know what, I'm not going to believe in God or religion anymore. You know, I was presented with evidence that was contradictory to my beliefs at the time, and I looked into it further, and I kept digging, and the more I dug, the more I found that, yeah, I couldn't agree with that. I didn't agree with that. In my own mind, I had been fighting with it. You know, that cognitive dissonance was there, and it was through that criticism and that challenge that the dialogue was open, and I was able to come to a different understanding. You know, what a lot of people don't know about me is I used to actually be a member of a white supremacist organization. That's how far in my life I've turned. You know, it's a 180 for me, to go from being the guy that's a very strict separatist to being the guy that's sending out the tweets with hashtag Black Lives Matter. You know, I mean, it's a complete 180 for me, and people don't really. A lot of people don't really get how you go from those extremes, and it's because of that dialogue. You know, it's because of the criticism, and it's because of being able to accept that someone else has a different viewpoint and that you might be wrong. That's the biggest thing. Accept that you might be wrong. You can be wrong about anything.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So I love having you guys here. You know, and Sean, we've really built some pretty good rapport between us, between our organizations and between us as individuals. It's just been a wonderful experience to just work with you guys and see what y'all are doing. And
absolutely,
I've been on board with.
Yeah, I wanted to get your take on this, and maybe some of the listeners and Joe. This was interesting. Some people probably know this because in a lot of cases people are know-it-alls. But I came across this, and I had no idea. So in 2013, the Vatican stated, they made this public, that if you followed the Pope on Twitter, your time in purgatory will be lessened. So you will spend less time waiting to see what your outcome, if you're going to heaven or hell, is spending in purgatory. You know, I've been telling that to some people, and some people thought it was a joke. No, this is not a joke. Like, this actually happened. What are your guys' thought on that?
Well, for me personally, being a student of history, it's not surprising to me at all.
Mm-hmm.
The Crusades were funded entirely by people buying indulgences from the Catholic Church to get out of
Right.
purgatory. You
Right.
Yep.
know, so this isn't a new thing for them. It's not a new thing for them to try and pull this one out there, and it comes back to the idea that religion is in its death throes right now. When you back a dog into the corner, that's when it really starts biting and fighting.
Yep.
And that's where the church is at right now. They're backed into a corner and they're doing everything they can to get people on their side. So hey, yeah, follow the Pope on Twitter. You won't have to do as much time in purgatory. Blah blah blah. you know, Purgatory itself is an unsubstantiated idea that doesn't even, stem from the Bible. They have to
Right.
twist the narrative to even come up with purgatory, which, that in itself is insane. But it also draws back to that idea of the patriarchy. Listen to this one man who is supposed to be the emissary of God himself,
Mhm.
and God will show favor on you. And it's
Right.
all about that patriarchy.
Right.
When I see a female pope, then I'll see some change in their organization. But until then, and that's never going to happen. They hold strongly to that patriarchy. So I don't know,
Yeah.
Joey. What do you think? You think we should get some indulgences if we follow the Pope on Twitter? I'm following him. I am. I follow him
know.
just because I'm waiting for the crazy shit he says.
Right. It's all just for the entertainment value. It's not surprising, and none of it's surprising. The new pope, everybody talks about how liberal and progressive he is. It's all PR. Whenever an organization gets in trouble, whenever a corporation gets in trouble, they find somebody who's got a nice line of PR, and they trot him out, and he tries to make the organization look better.
Right.
I mean, this is an organization that's been hiding pedophiles.
Right.
Come on.
But I think it's even funnier for those that are Catholics, for those people that are Catholics to see that. I mean,
Yeah.
Twitter. First of all, Zuckerberg's got to be a little upset because that means God likes Twitter over Facebook, right? But there's so many jokes to be had with it. But like, as a Catholic, how do you subscribe to something that can just change like that? And obviously we've seen the society has slowly changed the Catholic Church over time, and they've changed doctrine based on what society was doing. This isn't a new thing, but I mean, to see, okay, social media is in the mix now. I mean, how is that? How does God care about Twitter? Like.
Yeah,
Well,
and honestly, that comes back to what Joey said. And a friend of mine that I actually follow and talk to quite regularly on Facebook, Joey Lee Kirkman, he's a fellow author, wrote a book called PR Pope. I would love for you guys to go out and pick up that book. It is a wonderful book, and it talks all about this
Yeah.
and this new Pope and how he really is a PR front man for the Catholic Church, to try and present a different image than what the Catholic Church actually represents. But when you get to the heart of it, the Catholic Church hasn't really changed. No matter what this man runs out and says, the Catholic Church hasn't really changed. With the introduction of social media, all they're trying to do is reach out to millennials, and we're seeing how much that fails. That fails so miserably, because what people are doing is they are following the Pope, and then they're laughing at him, and they're laughing at the stupid shit that he says.
Yeah.
And that's the millennials out there doing that, because it's laughable to them. They're done with the bullshit. They don't want to be talked down to. They don't want to deal with bullshit anymore. They just want some flat out honest truth. They want people who are just going to be honest with them. And I think that's why atheism has an appeal. People like Dawkins and Harris and even myself, we have an appeal to millennials because we're not trying to sugarcoat anything. I'm going to tell you straight up, life ain't fair. Life ain't always fun. It's not always going to be good. Sometimes it's going to be really shitty. But this is all you've got. So, if you want something better, you got to do something different. You want the same shit you've been getting, keep doing what you've been doing. But if you want something better, try something different. And that's what people are reaching out to.
But I think the challenge, and the younger generation as well as atheists, in general, is the apathy. The fact that they care so little about it that like that it's not really a big deal to them. So it's hard to sell to that audience, and we're hoping that with these events that we have coming up, with the debates with Dr. Robert Price and Bart Ehrman and Carrier and Justin Bass, we're hoping this will start sparking some interest. But how do you get a bunch of people that don't care enough to subscribe, interested in something, to come out and support it? I guess that's the question.
I think you guys are doing a great job with the Holy Shit series, personally, and I think the Jesus versus Batman, or I'm probably not thinking of the title of that correctly, but
Batman
that
and
movie,
Jesus.
yeah, the Batman and Jesus movie, that's going to be, that's where you appeal to the base, because you're giving them something to actually look at that's relevant to them, to their culture, to their society, to the life that they live right now. So the Holy Shit series is great. I watch every one of them when they come out. I'm always tossing them around and promoting them to folks, because it's a wonderful series just to point out the insanity behind these beliefs. Another thing, in my opinion, is to really pinpoint the idea that I love to stress all the time, is that when we deal with atrocities like ISIS, like the recent terrorist activities that have taken place in the United States committed by Christians, there's a justification for those things. Not necessarily a provocation, but a justification. And that comes back to religion. So why is it important to you? Why is it something that you should be involved in or care about? Because that is where it leads. In its worst incarnations, that's where it leads. And that's why it's important.
Yeah.
There's a justification. And we have to attack that justification and do away with it. And then we will see people saying, well, I have no justification for doing it, therefore I can't do it.
Right.
Or at least that's my hope. I can't state that emphatically, but that's my hope. When you take away the justification, then that's going to cause a decline in these sorts of events.
Yeah.
Well, we can hope. That where we're at a disadvantage is that we don't have a line of bullshit to to feed these people. We're feeding them the truth, and the truth isn't pretty. We don't have this mystical, wonderful afterlife for everybody to look forward to that we can sell to them. So it kind of puts us at a disadvantage.
Well, as an author and as someone who really I consider myself an evangelical atheist. I know there's plenty of atheists that don't like that term. I embrace it wholeheartedly. I am evangelical as shit about my atheism. If you tell me you're religious, I will preach to you about my atheism just like you would preach to me about your religion.
I like it.
And it's not because it's not because I think I'm right and you're wrong. It's because if I honestly care about you in this life, I have a responsibility to myself. If I say that I care about you, that I'm going to try and do what I can to make this world a better place for you, for me, for my kids, for everybody else.
Okay.
So yes, I'm going to be evangelical about it. I'm going to preach the gospel as far as atheism is concerned. And that's not exactly a popular viewpoint.
Right.
But it gets a message across to a lot of people, and I've seen a lot of people that have really kind of embraced it, embraced the idea of just being open and being out there with it.
Yeah, I think being an atheist, you have to be comfortable with saying I don't know. One of the things that you start seeing the increase in popularity in the Eastern religions, the Hinduism, Buddhism. I think that's because the less dogmatic, more progressive people would like the less dogmatic religion, but at the same time still have some feeling of knowing what's going to happen when they die. But yeah, as an atheist, you have to be acceptable. You have to be, okay to say, I don't know what's going to happen. We'll find out when we get there. I'm not worried about that right now. Let's worry about this life part, and then when I die, then we'll figure that out. So it's interesting. It'd be, I guess, what's your take on the Eastern religions? If someone came up to you, Casper, and said, I'm practicing Hinduism or Jainism, because Jainism, you can't hurt a fly. What is your take on that?
Personally, I like to tell them that you can get the same ideas from philosophy without religion. And I tell them that the only reason that they're still following a religion is because they're scared of death. It's a matter of fear. You're afraid of dying and not knowing what happens after that, not having some afterlife to fall back on.
Yeah.
So I'm critical. I'm very critical of Hinduism, very much so, and it's sort of an odd thing to see within atheism, because a lot of atheists are not very critical of Hinduism. But we look at India right now, and we look at the caste system in India, and this is an idea that's been perpetuated by Hinduism. This sort of caste system, that there are actual people that are born outcasts, and you can't help them. That's the lot they were born to, and that's a matter of karma, and it's not your right to intercede on their behalf. And so we have this horrible, class system that is just, terrible for that entire nation, and terrible for a great majority of their population, that is perpetuated by that religion. Now, I won't say that it's necessarily caused by the religion, but it's certainly perpetuated by it. So yeah, I'm very critical of Hinduism and every religion, because my viewpoint is, when you offer an absolute truth, then there's no room for discussion.
Yeah.
And that's what religion offers. There is an absolute truth. There is a God.
Right.
There is a heaven, a hell, or whatnot.
Right.
You offer absolute truths. There's no room for discussion.
Right.
And that's what poisons the well.
And ours is the only right one, and that supremacist, attitude that they all take on. I'm not saying all the Eastern, but definitely the Abrahamic faiths take on. Ours is the true one.
Right.
That's why you see these extremists that can pop up through them, because it enables them based on what the text says.
Yeah. Aren't I lucky that I was raised in this religion? The right one.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Well, see, going back to the Eastern religions, I actually came to atheism through Buddhism and Taoism, and it's almost like I was weaning myself off of religion. Because I grew up in a Pentecostal church, very dogmatic, very strict religion. So, and I kind of started experimenting with Buddhism for a little while, and it kind of felt good, and then I kind of drifted into Taoism. It kind of felt, because I'd studied some quantum physics, and Taoism kind of makes sense on the quantum level, because everything is connected. So and then finally I just had to come to terms with the fact that I didn't know.
Yeah.
And when I finally came to terms with the fact that I didn't have the answer, then I was able to just let it go. And that's kind of the path that I took.
Yeah. My path was very similar. I definitely dabbled in the Eastern philosophies and Buddhism, and I still find Buddhist philosophy to be very useful in my life. In application, the ideas that are presented through Buddhist philosophy, very, very useful in my life. Trying to find peace within myself and to organize myself, and to be cognizant of the here and now, and to let go of all these things that I hold on to, that are the things that end up causing me pain in my life. These are very reticent ideas that are still, that they still have some very deep meaning with me, and everybody can find some good ideas from that. I still utilize meditation just as a calming exercise for myself, just to calm myself internally. But it's the religious aspect when you take it to another level, and you worship it. That's when it becomes more than just trying to find yourself. Um, I actually wrote a blog a while back called "An Afterlife for Atheists." And we were talking about atheism doesn't offer that sort of fish on a hook, if you will, for people to latch on to and grasp to. And in that blog, I talked about the only afterlife that an atheist can really hope for is to leave something behind that makes a mark on humanity, on society, on the people in your lives.
Mm-hmm.
That's your afterlife.
Absolutely.
How will you be remembered? Will people remember you, or will you be forgotten? Will you be lost to time altogether? Um, you know, uh, Beethoven's been dead for several hundred years. These Aristotle, Plato, these men have been dead for hundreds of years, but they still exist. They exist in the minds of people who still read their works, who still study their works, who disagree with their works, who agree with their works. On both sides of the fence, they have an afterlife. Those men still exist. Those women that have presented those ideas that have just withstood the test of time, they still exist.
Right.
On some level here, and that's the afterlife that we can strive for. Leave something behind that is of meaning, of value, that is worthwhile, that people can look to and say, "Wow, that's great," or "Oh my God, that's horrible." Even Hitler has an afterlife. We still talk about it. We still talk about Hitler all the time.
But I think that that's part of the problem. I mean, that's what a lot of religions offer up, that absolute justification for what they're doing. I mean, you bring up Hitler. A lot of people don't know Hitler was utilizing Christianity to behind the scenes with a lot of his stuff. And I just saw that movie Spotlight, and if anyone hasn't seen Spotlight, go see Spotlight. It's about the Boston Globe and how they broke open the Catholic priests that were raping all the kids. And it's just like, when you see that movie and you're a Catholic or you're any type of Christian, and you see that movie and you see how these priests got away with molesting these kids for years and years, and they nothing happened to them, they just kept getting pushed, moved around, and how do you not start questioning that? And this was years and years and years, and we're actually lucky. We're going to have one of the founders of SNAP. That's the group that was for the survivors of the molestation. They actually came, because a lot of these people got to a point where the suicide rate was really high, because what do? You're really in depth, and you're devout in your faith, and your priest is molesting you, and you can't do anything about it. So, like, what does that do to a child's, like, psyche? Like, how do you live a normal life after that? So SNAP is just a great organization that came together and is really supporting the survivors of this molestation. So we're going to have one of the co-founders on our show. It should be a really, really powerful show. But like, how do you have that knowledge of that taking place and still subscribe to something that not only allowed it, enabled it?
Yeah, that's one of the worst situations out there. And I say one of the worst because there's a lot of bad situations out there. I love to point out to people that one of the biggest numbers of homeless people in the United States are LGBTQ teenagers that have been kicked out of their home by religious parents, or parents with fundamentalist ideas and strict ideas like that, and they're now living on the streets trying to survive because of who they are, because of who they were born as, and their own parents' inability to accept that. So it's sort of the same role, and we still deal with these sort of conversion therapies in church, and no, we can cure the gay away, we can pray the gay away, and no, you fucking can't. Let people be people. If you're not, that's why atheists like me exist, because people like them exist. And I have to fight that. I have to speak up against that.
Absolutely.
You know, priests molesting children and getting away with it. You're goddamn right I gotta speak up against that.
Right.
Is that every priest out there? Fuck no, it's not every priest. There are thousands of priests on this planet, and they don't molest children. There are plenty
Right.
of great, wonderful priests. I subscribed to Catholicism for quite some time in my life, and the priests that I all dealt with were very nice, generous, wonderful people.
Right.
But is there a problem within the Catholic Church? You're damn right there is, and it
Right.
has to be addressed.
Well, that's the problem. I think, you know, I go back to like the public side. If you look at or the private sector, I'm sorry. If you look at like my company or Target or Walmart or Toys R Us or some consumer commercial based industry, and the president starts molesting children, do you think, like, you know, the founder, the owner starts molesting children, are people still going to work at that company? Are people still going to shop there? No, it's going to get shut down. You know, they may last for a little while, but ultimately they're going to get shut down. Yet the Catholic Church, you know, continues to go. I mean, like, that's, it just boggles my mind how that is still a thing after that happened. How is Catholicism still around? You know, and there were over 80 priests in Boston alone.
Well, you know, people
are scared to die and go to hell. So,
Yeah.
you know, that's the big thing that keeps people coming back, is that fear.
Well, you know, to me, it's like if Jared was still the representative of Subway right now, and everybody's going, well, no, I'm still supporting Subway. I eat Subway every day. You know, I fucking lost 10 pounds with Subway. You know, how do you do that? How do you reconcile that in your mind? And you know, when you put it on that level, no, you can't reconcile that. No, if you're going to support a pedophile, I'm not going to support you.
Exactly.
Fuck you.
Exactly. That's where that strange, like, dichotomy in people's brains, you know, when it comes to religion. It really is this weird, you know, separation from logic and, you know, like what you should be doing, you know, like it's illogical in a lot of cases, you know.
Well, you know, and to use Jared as an example again, when that shit came out, people were all over Subway. They were like, "What the fuck, Subway? How dare you, Subway?" And they're like, "We didn't fucking know. Our bad. Look, we're disassociating ourselves with this motherfucker. Our bad, man. We had no fucking clue. That guy is not part of us. No, fuck that dude."
That's a great example, dude. I mean, that really is what should be happening with the Catholic Church, should be happening with Islam and ISIS. I mean, why be a part of something that allows this killing of innocents and this, you know, molestation of little children? I mean, these are little kids, you know?
Well, you know, and like I said, I think some of it falls back to the idea that there are thousands of priests on this planet, and the majority of priests are not doing this. Right. And people will say, well, you know, the majority is not doing it, so But it's kind of the same way, you know, you brought up ISIS. It's kind of the same way with pointing to moderate Muslims and go, well, most Muslims aren't fucking terrorists, so, you know, Islam must be okay. Well, have you heard what the fucking doctrine says? Because no, Islam's not okay. I'm sorry. Like, they get their shit right out of the book, man. It's not like they're actually extremists. I love to point out that point. These aren't extremists. Yeah, they're not radicals. If you're a chef and you cook exactly as the cookbook says, that doesn't make you a radical chef. If you're a religious person and you follow the recipe, you're not a radical religious person. You're just following the fucking recipe.
Well,
you know,
the problem is, and as you know, Casper, I mean, the Bible and the Quran, the Old Testament, New Testament, all the texts, I mean, they contradict themselves so much that you can take one part out and one, you know, this recipe calls for this, which is completely, you know, love all of the poor people or whatever, and then this recipe calls to kill all, you know, like, so it really depends on who the chef is, unfortunately, in that case. The chef can pick and choose what they want to make, unfortunately, because you know, they'll pull out the good parts of the Quran and say, oh, look at the Hadith, and Muhammad said this, and it's really good, and you know, and then, you know, obviously we know the underbelly of it, so that's part of the problem. Is it's perfectly self-contradicting, you know.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I mean, it's about like a recipe book that has no exact measurements in it, and it says use a pinch, a dab, and a fucking a dash of
And a
things,
sacrifice,
and at
right?
your own discretion, you figure it out. You
Right.
know, and what kind of omnipotent, omniscient God gives you a recipe book that's like, at your own discretion?
Right.
Like, what kind of God? Like, really, you're omnipotent and omniscient, but you're gonna say, here's some half-ass shit. Figure it the fuck out.
Right.
Okay.
Oh, and it makes it even worse because in Islam, you know, the way they were taught and the way the book states is that was the last revelation of Allah, Yahweh, Jehovah, whatever you want to call them. That's that's the last revelation. So of course they're the right ones because theirs came, you know, 4 centuries after the New Testament. So so that makes it even more confusing. You know, it's like. And it's kind of funny when you think about Mormonism. Mormonism should be making those claims actually, because that actually was the last revelation, right? That was Joseph Smith in the 1800s. Like, they should be out there right now, like Islam, and saying, look, you know, actually God came to us last, and Jesus was an American. Can you get it together? You know, like, seriously.
Well, you know, early on with the Adventist movement, and yes, Mormonism is part of the Adventist movement. It descended from the Adventist movement, but you know, there are still those in the Adventist movement, Seventh Day Adventist, and other Adventists. The Jehovah's Witness are Adventists. Based off the Adventist movement, and they still claim that they have prophets and prophets that are given foresight and whatnot. So,
right.
you know, they're making those claims, but it's not taken seriously. And I think one of the big reasons it's not taken seriously, it's kind of like Bill Burr, one of my favorite comedians. He said, you know, he looked at his religion and he said, you know, he was told about what Scientology was all about, and he was like, that's the stupidest fucking shit I ever heard, while simultaneously believing that a virgin gave birth to a baby that fucking walked on water. You know, and like he said that the reason he felt like that maybe he accepted that shit but didn't accept you know, Scientology was because he heard that shit when he was a kid. You know, there was still some fat fuck coming down the chimney giving him presents, and there was a bunny that laid eggs and shit, you know. So it's harder to get things over people once there's information available and involved. The problem is making sure that people understand that the information's there. Just go look for it. It's available to everybody. Just go look for it. It's right there.
I also got the whole hipster thing where everything that's older is better anyway.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, let's go back to the 50s where your wife could not press charges on you for fucking rape because, you know, you're married, so you can't rape your wife.
Yeah.
Fucked up thought is that. The good old days.
And dark-skinned people couldn't be church leaders in Mormonism.
Yeah.
So, I mean,
you know, if the United States government had not told them that they were going to lose their goddamn tax exempt status, they still would not be able to be involved in that church. The only reason they stopped doing it was because the fucking government said, no, if you're not going to be inclusive, we're not going to give you tax exempt status. Sorry about your luck. And they were like, well, you know, we'll be more inclusive. Fuck it. We want that money.
Right.
So we see who rules the day there. The almighty dollar is the ruler there.
Well,
so we've got about 2 minutes for me to wrap it up here, and I just want to plug both of these kind gentlemen's pages and works and organizations and the stuff they're doing, because they were so awesome to join me today, and we've had a wonderful discussion. Joey is the founder of a Facebook page called Offending Everyone. If you're not easily offended, Go check his stuff out. You'll get a laugh. You'll have some fun there. If you're easily offended, stay the fuck away. Keep your comments to yourself. God damn it, don't act crazy on his page. Please don't want to draw that traffic to his page. But if you can take a joke, go check out what he's got going on. Sean is a co-founder and deeply involved with the Mythos Milwaukee Foundation organization. They do some wonderful things around Milwaukee in the area. They're putting on conferences. They're getting meetups together. Would love to see a larger female presence with the Mythos Milwaukee team there in Milwaukee. If you're a female and you're of doubt or you know you're an atheist, check these guys out. They would love to have you involved in their organization. They would love to have you work with them. Some wonderful dudes doing some wonderful things that everybody can really have some fun with. I'm Casper Rigsby with the Atheist Republic. Please remember that the views and thoughts of the people represented here are not necessarily the representation of all the members of Atheist Republic. We're a big team, a lot of people. We have a lot of different ideas and thoughts, and we do consider ourselves a republic where each individual is an individual. So my thoughts do not necessarily reflect the thoughts of all Atheist Republic members. Keep that in mind. If you have a problem with what I said, take it out on me. I'm the guy. Point your finger here. What we do is not free at Atheist Republic, so if you're willing and able, we would definitely love a little financial support. If you're not willing and able, or you'd just like to be involved with the organization, there's a link below. Visit atheistrepublic.com /volunteer, and you can volunteer with our team. We'd love to hear what you have to say and put your voice out there to the world. Thank you for joining us. This has been the Devils in God's Country. We enjoy having your company here and having you listen to what we have to say. That's another one. Thank you, guys.